On this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, financial advice your rich uncle should not be giving you. So welcome back to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Shawn Yesner, owner and founder of Yesner Law. And with me, as always, your financial coach, George Corbello. How you doing, George?
Let's go. I'm doing the fist pump and everything's great. Just want to say happy birthday. A little late to my wife, but she's turned a nice 29 again.
29.
Yeah, I'm learning that one.
She looks
she
29.
definitely looks better than me. I mean, like I definitely,
definitely. What do they say? You outkicked your coverage.
I like that. So proud of that. And at the time of this release for the episode, the girls would be graduating already. So that's kind of like very exciting. Still surviving like proms and all this other stuff that we're going through right now. But very proud dad. Very happy.
And tassels.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's fun times, man. So but it's been good. How about you? How's the family going?
Good. I found the other day, I have my mortarboard from my high school graduation.
Really?
White cap and gown for high school.
Never did white. So,
College and law school were black.
Yeah.
But for high school, for some reason, we went white.
Okay.
And I found the tassels from my high school, college, and law school graduation.
Jeez, that's pretty cool though.
Have
If you
them all
keeping
up.
those. I think I have in a box somewhere in the garage. That's very. But I think I still have my 8th grade.
Nice.
That one is. I know it's there. It's just you gotta pull out the box and dust it off and get it. But yeah, it's right next to my diploma.
There you
Actually.
So no, everything's good on the home front. We got everything's kind of winding down on our end. We have a graduation of sorts that we can kind of work into today's conversation. When my older son finishes 8th grade this year, so he'll be going into 9th grade. He'll be going into high school next year, which kind of upsets me that now I have 2 kids in 2 different schools.
Yeah,
but
little inconvenient. I had that. It was like 1 year I had to do that with the middle school and high school, but it happens. It's like not the end of the world.
No, he's doing fine now that we're into May. The soccer season's over. Tryouts for next year have started.
Cool.
We had one Boy Scout camp out a couple weeks ago at the Sun and Fun Air Show. So we got to sleep on site at the air show, right in the field surrounding the runways and the tarmacs and
that's new.
We had a daytime show, a nighttime show, air show. So that was cool.
That's exciting.
And yeah, we're like you said, we're getting ready to wind down the school year. We just go into summer school and then the next school year.
Well, we have to have another episode about like how do we deal with summer school and summer camps and all the other things that keep us busy during the summer.
And that will fill up a full episode because I remember the day that my mom would take me to a summer camp.
Yep.
In the morning, she'd pick me up, and that's where I went all summer.
Mm-hmm.
But now I've got one kid in this 1-week summer camp, and then he goes to another 1-week summer camp. And while that's going on, my other kid is in a different 1-week summer camp. And they've broken the summer into all these 1-week summer camps.
Well, it used to be like a whole program, right? You do things for the whole summer. Whereas now it's, like every week has a theme.
Well, not only that, but every week it's different companies.
Oh.
So 1 week there's a store here in Tampa. I don't know if they're all over, but there's a store here in Tampa called Sur La Table, which sells kitchen utensils and appliances.
Okay.
And really kind of upscale. Silverware, china, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a store in Hyde Park down in South Tampa.
Beautiful place.
And in the back of their store, they have a working kitchen, a bunch of fully working kitchens. And so my boys love going there. They go there for a week, and they teach them how to make stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was guacamole and hummus, and they baked bread and all kinds of different stuff. So then when that week is over, then my older son goes to the Tampa Bay Rowdies. They're having a soccer summer camp.
Okay.
Unconnected to
of course,
just the Rowdies.
Something different.
My younger son goes to Rock Guitar, which is a music camp for a week. Then when that week's over, totally different company. So it's not the same summer program. They're just doing different things every week. It is literally different companies that I'm signing them up for 1 week at a time to go to summer camp.
It's a lot of planning. I imagine a lot of coordination. And you're not going to the same place, I'd imagine, as well.
Oh,
So
no.
that's also something you have to kind of
I
contend
need a
with.
slide rule to get around, figure out.
We'll
my
get your
schedule.
whiteboard so you can put it and like what plan out the whole summer.
I need a written calendar. I need a computer calendar. I need alarms on my phone. So,
all right,
that we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
You could tell Shawn's very passionate about this topic, so we'll definitely cover this and how to pay for all of this.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'll give you hints. So as we record, we're in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
I am now saving for 2030 summer camps.
It's that bad. Okay, I got you.
Anyway, but what we're talking about this week is before the summer camp.
Of course, you gotta finish the school year first.
So what was one piece of advice that you got when you graduated college?
So obviously, like how the message, right? You get the cards and you get the like, hey, here's some advice for you, because depending on like you're graduating college or you're graduating high school, right? Your brain, I think you're still the same though. I feel like I was immature at both ages, just a different level of immaturity.
Probably more immature at the college level than the high school level.
I thought I knew everything. So some of the advice that we always get, and I think most of us can relate to this, right? Follow your passion. For me, that one's like the one is like do something you love to do, and I'm like, yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, how much that pay again? Because I love sitting around and playing video games all day, but I don't think that. Well, no, there is you can make money that way too.
Well, now you can.
Now you can.
But that was the entire reason I became a lawyer. Not because I was following my passion.
Mm-hmm.
I love my job and I love practicing law, but it wasn't really a passion of mine. Back when I graduated high school and even college, my passion was playing music. I've been playing drums since I was 10. And so my passion was playing music and playing drums. If I had followed my passion, I knew that there's only two ways to make money in music. Way number one is you hit it big.
Yep.
And you get picked up by a label and you go on tours and you produce records and become famous and blah, blah, blah. That's one way. The other way to make money, although I guess even that's arguable, is to become a music teacher.
Yep. That's arguable. I like that. That's good.
And I am on the record.
Debatable.
I think our teachers should be making more money.
They should be millionaires.
I do think our teachers should be making more money.
I agree.
But the reality of it was, at the time, I knew that being a music teacher wasn't going to produce a lot of money.
Yep.
So had I followed my passion, I'd be Mr. Yesner, the music teacher, right now.
I like that. You got the look for it. I think most of my music teachers were bald as well, but that's just... So, no, I agree with you. Follow your passions, right? So for me, the thing is with following your passion is, does it pay well at the beginning?
Right.
It just depends on what that passion is. And at 17, do you know what that is? At 22, do you know what that is? So we have an idea. I think most of us at that age is, I want to live comfortably. I want to, maybe start a family or have a business or something. Right. But what does that mean when we say follow our passions, right? So it's so open-ended when it comes to that. And I think it's just, for me, like, my passion doesn't pay immediately.
No.
It's, and we need to still pay rent if we want to live on our own. We need to eat. We need to, get our lives, start buying things that are specific to starting to become an adult. So those are things that I would say I understand that kind of premise. But for me, how would I rephrase it? Like, for me, like, instead of follow your passion, and this is I love my daughter, my youngest. She wants to, her passion, she's a fantastic singer. All right. Follow your passion. But the advice I've been giving her, and again, I don't know anything about musical theater or any of that kind of stuff, but my advice is kind of like, follow your passion, but know how you're going to get paid as you go along.
Yeah.
You got it. Because again, we think we're going to have that, I'm going to make that one deal, or I'm going to get that one part, or I'm going to get, whatever it is, that one, and that's what's going to keep me going, right? Even a realtor. Like, I love selling houses itself, but if you bank on the one sell of the house, you're going to be broke most of the rest of the time.
I would say, instead of follow your passion, love what you do.
Love what you do. Okay.
It's I love being an attorney. I love being a lawyer. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily my passion. My passion is music. Well, now my passion is my kids and soccer and Boy Scouts and all that stuff. But I don't know that being a soccer coach for a preteen soccer team is going to pay very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I'm going to do much being, a 14-year-old soccer coach. But
again, passion in giving back to the community.
Yeah.
Obviously raising kids and to be good soccer players, depending on the what it is that the group of kids that you're working with. So there's always that, but it's funny, even with doing something that you love, sometimes. And I always say, like, again, do you know what that is at 17 and 23? There's for me, that's for me, it's like, yes, finding something you love, but in the beginning, I always did the jobs that just gave me the money to allow me to build that foundation, to get to that point.
And that's what I was going to say.
Okay.
You don't want to give up your passion.
No,
but you don't necessarily want to bank on you. It's like you said, you don't want to count your chickens before they hatch.
That's it.
You don't want to bank on your passion. Don't give it up. I still play. I still play drums.
Yep.
I just don't do it for money. I do this for money.
Yeah.
And this supports my annoying drum habit. I have a meme on my phone, and it says, "Can you believe my neighbors were pounding on my door at 3 a.m. last night? Luckily for them, I was up playing my drums."
Yeah, okay, there. you don't want to be his neighbor, that's for sure, like that.
Actually, I have an electronic kit. So,
there you go. You're able to mute it, lower quiet. The volume kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's muffled.
So what's some other piece of advice that your rich uncle should not be giving you?
Well, for me, I think the ones that come to mind, like, take risk while you're young, right? Or the money will come later. Where's the problem in those types of sayings? When we talk about, like, it's good to take risk, it's good to and be patient because the money will come. The problem is if we don't have a good plan or a good idea, does it always equal money?
Right.
Does it always have that funding? When I worry about, like, take risk, right? Take whisk. Yeah, take whisk. You
wascally wabbit.
Taking risk. Christine would love that one. She's going to make fun of me later.
I'm not going to edit that out.
Taking risk, it also equals, for us mostly, is taking out money. Going into debt is where the risk lies. And I think we got to be careful to advise to, again, a 17, 18-year-old to a 22-year-old where it's like, just borrow your way and you'll get the millions in 5 years, 2 years, whatever it might be.
I would say I don't necessarily agree. I think it's easier to recover from a risk that you took a risk and it went wrong. It's easier to recover if you're younger.
Yep.
So I would say
good point.
If you're 50, 60, 70 years old, maybe you want to avoid taking some risks. If you're 20, 30, 40, maybe you can take some risks, but I would say calculated risks.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, if you're 20 and you start a business and it fails, you got 60 more years, hopefully or more,
knock on wood,
to make it up.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't take unnecessary risks. But I get your point as well in terms of, you don't want to take risks that put you in a bad financial position from the start, like taking out loans and borrowing more than what you can afford. I met with a guy the other day who was talking to me about filing bankruptcy, and I said, "Well, what happened?" He lost $150,000 in crypto.
Oof.
And
that's a risk.
I looked after he left. I looked at my.
You remind yourself.
My portfolio has dropped 50% in value, but it's gone from $100 to $50.
Okay, it's not too bad. 100,000. Add a few more zeros, you probably be crying right now. So that totally makes sense.
And the money will come later. I've said before on the show, my attitude towards money is, whenever I've really, really needed it, I've found a way to get it.
Of course.
It's there when I need it. I'm a very positive mentality when it comes to money, and if I've ever really had an issue, I've figured out a way to get the money. But when I sit back and look at it, the money will come later. So the first quarter 2026 of the law firm was probably one of the best quarters in the law firm's history.
Let's go.
But when I look back at it, I did a ton of I did more consultations November, December, January than I had done the previous couple of years. And what I realized is those November, December, January consults set me up for January, February, March, a lot of money, a lot of revenue, a lot of new clients. So, yeah, the money came later, but I did the work to create the money coming later.
Fair enough. All right, so the money come later. So for me, I think, once again, if you're 17, if you're young, right, bills still come, right? So if you create bills, you still have to pay them, regardless if you have your passion or, what you. So those are things you have to worry about. For me, the biggest thing, though, when we talk about college graduates, if you didn't pay for college, that means student loans, right?
Yeah,
so student loans they're not going to wait for you to figure things out. It's that bill's coming one way or the other. So I think for me, it's just be honest and say, like, the money will come, but you got to put the work in,
Right.
and you have to be realistic about, okay, we still have obligations that we need to pay for. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Right.
Now, the risk, right? Risk now, like, what's good risk? For me, good risk is I'm going to risk by, on a new job where I can learn new skills.
Right.
That's risk, good risk in a sense.
Calculated risk.
I like that, right? So I think that's where, for me, the bad risk, things to really keep in mind when it comes to is, like, again, you're ignoring debt, or you're overspending, or you have no plan. And, we're thinking like it's going to, again, the money will come later kind of thing. For me, those are risks that are going to put you in a hole that if you're young, you can get out of eventually. But if you're not smart, it could take you a very long time to get out of.
Well, and not to say the wrong thing, but to go back to the crypto guy, and he didn't tell me that this happened to him, but I've heard of other crypto people that borrowed against their house and then put all of that money into crypto, and then the crypto's gone, and now their house is upside down.
That's too much. But I mean, think about that kind of thought process where it's like that's a huge risk to take out money against your home and thinking that that's going to be a good investment. But again, that's, for me, that's like gambling, right? You're gambling the money, putting it in something that, again, there's never sure when it comes to mortgage or anything like that. But imagine thinking like that's a good idea. Like, I'm gonna borrow against the house. I'm gonna go to Vegas and I'm gonna bet on those dogs and see where I go from there.
I'll put everything on red and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it's a strategy.
Always split aces and eights.
It's a strategy. I didn't say it's a good one, but it's a strategy. I like that. What else then? What do you, any advice, anybody gave you over the years, or just kind of scratch your head when you were getting started?
Well, nothing that really caused me to scratch my head, but more so kind of along the lines of taking calculated risks.
Mm-hmm.
It's the advice of learn the stock market. And if you want to learn the stock market and investing by putting aside, you want to put $100 into crypto and learn how it works. You want to put $100 in the stock market and learn how it works.
Mm-hmm.
If that's something you want to do when you're young, that's great.
Yeah.
I would just it's the calculated risks.
Mm-hmm.
It's don't buy stuff you can't afford. Don't put stuff on a credit card you can't pay for in cash.
There you go. So you're already kind of going into then what should be some of the advice that we put in those cards, right? So for me, I think the you kind of hinted to it. The first thing that I would say in those cards is, again, how to learn money, how money works, right? So we know graduating high school, graduating college, we kind of complain like, oh, financial literacy, well, let's take the moment to kind of like, hey, let's talk about how money works, budgeting, credit, interest, investments, any of those kind of things. It's an opportunity to have that conversation. So I feel like that's it's going to be a lot in the card, but I think that's where the advice can be in a sense of like, here's money, but let's actually have a money conversation of what to do with the money I'm about to give you.
Right. Which is one of the other things that I was going to bring up in terms of one of the other pieces of bad advice is, well, you deserve.
Yeah.
You just graduated. You deserve a new car.
Yep.
You just graduated. You deserve to buy a house.
Ooh.
You just graduated. You deserve this, thing that you don't necessarily have a job yet, so you can't afford the thing that you should be able to get. You just graduated. Buy yourself a Rolex.
So giving that's a good point. Giving you. Are you enabling this behavior of like like, oh, you did? I mean, it's a huge accomplishment to graduate, but to tie it again. What kind of mindset are you putting in where it's like all I got to do is accomplish something that everybody should be able to do, right? And you're gonna get this huge reward of like either a car or a job. Even thinking like, I deserve a job because I just graduated at college. I just made this accomplishment. Yeah. Don't I deserve a good income? And I'm like, that's a slippery slope in regards to that kind of mentality, leaving and graduating from university.
Well, and I'm not saying don't reward yourself for a major accomplishment. I'm not saying, don't reward yourself for doing something really well. I'm just saying keep the reward kind of in line with where you are.
Sure.
In a economic perspective. So, I graduated high school. I'm going to go buy a Rolex. No.
Yeah.
Now maybe you buy a Invicta, or a Bulova or a Citizen or something like that.
Right.
But there's no reason to go. Hey, I just graduated college. I need a new car.
Right.
When your old car works fine.
Yeah. Oh, I need a new car. I mean, that's the phrase you got to be careful. But right. I got you. I got you there. Once again, what kind of mindset are we teaching where there's this entitlement that, comes to, I did a great job at my office, Shawn, I deserve I deserve a raise, but I've been only here for a week. I think it's time for me to get let's talk about that promotion, even though I've been working here a year.
It's interesting. I was talking to my dad years and years and years ago. Mm-hmm. He had very little turnover in the 20 plus years he had his CPA company. He had very, very little turnover. He never gave Christmas bonuses.
Oh, wow.
And I said, Dad, why you never gave? He said, I gave a Christmas bonus sometimes. Mm. If the firm did really well that year, I would give a small bonus.
Sure.
I said, but why didn't you give a Christmas bonus every year? He said, well, if the employees expect to get a Christmas bonus every year, what's the difference between that and salary? Mm. And so instead of giving a Christmas bonus, he paid more.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to give you,
that's good.
$59,000 a year and $1,000 at the end of the year for a Christmas bonus, why don't I just pay you $60,000 for the year?
Correct.
And call it a day. And he didn't do it. It wasn't from a mean perspective.
Yeah.
But it was more, I'm going to treat my employees right. I'm going to pay them a better than decent salary. If the CPA firm does something above and beyond, maybe I'll give them a bonus.
Sure.
But other than that,
don't expect it.
Right.
And I think people, especially in the corporate world, that seems to be very easy to do, where it's like every year I expect this type of bonus, and then it's surprised when something is, it's not there.
Yeah.
Or doesn't come in, and it's, did I do something wrong? Again, they start self-reflecting on themselves of like, did I do something wrong? Is this, is the company going to fold? What's happening? They again start freaking out from that standpoint. But okay. Good advice. Good story as well, in the sense of like, for me, I think don't expect, right? Work hard, love what you do, find your, follow your passions. I think this is all good advice. But Shawn, let's give some real advice, because those all sound really nice and they, they're really, but let's keep it real. What am I telling my 20, again, just, talking for a friend, what do I tell my friend who's got a daughter who's graduating from college this year? What advice can I give them about, this graduating person?
It's the same financial advice that we've been given on this show for 510 plus episodes.
Love it.
It's live within your means. Don't buy it don't put it on a card unless you can afford to buy it.
Good.
Pay off your card at the end of the month.
Yep.
Monitor. Although here's an interesting question. I was talking to my girlfriend last night.
Okay.
And we somehow got on the topic of credit scores.
Ooh.
Do you know what your credit score is?
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I know.
You don't have to tell us.
You
don't have to tell us it starts with a 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
This guy.
But
yes, but I do know my credit score. Wow. we are having, I think I'm having a seizure here.
So Crushing Debt podcast with your financial coach, Elmer Fudd.
Crushing. Okay, go ahead.
So, she checks it every day.
Every day?
She checks it every day.
I mean, does it change? I don't think it changes every day.
I don't know, but, hey, if she wants,
okay.
She checks it every day.
Okay.
I don't know what my credit score is.
Really?
I don't know.
Haven't done it Even with the getting the sofa and all those kind of things. No, okay.
No idea.
Well, you can get it through most of the banks.
Well, there's you can either you get it when you apply for credit. There's also the FTC has a website. I think it's annualcreditreport.com,
Sure.
where it's a legitimate free once a year credit check. But I'm not buying anything on credit. Why do I need to know what my credit score is?
Look at this famous guy.
I have locks on. I contacted each of the 3 credit agencies, and you can put a lock on.
I would agree. A freeze on the credit. Yeah,
right.
For the kids.
So people can't. You steal my identity or
there's
buy stuff
nothing you
using
can't
my
just
credit.
right.
Unless I take the lock off, they can't do that.
Nice.
But other than that, why do I need to know? I have it monitored, so I know I'm not getting a problem there.
I mean, if it's locked, there's no need to know the number.
So it's different.
And when you're ready to, you can unfreeze it to, if you got another mortgage or a second mortgage, whatever it might be.
Now,
so that makes sense.
Maybe it's also the line of work that I'm in. It's funny. I'll be talking to someone who's late 70s, early 80s, and I'll say to them, you've got all this debt, but your only source of income is Social Security. Your only source of income is your retirement,
right?
Whatever. That's all exempt under Florida law. Do you want to be contacted by creditors with lawsuits and phone calls and letters and all this other stuff? If the answer is I don't care because they can't touch me, well, then maybe doing nothing is a valid option.
That's okay. Yeah.
If they say I don't want all that stress, then bankruptcy is probably a good option. And it's funny, every time I mention bankruptcy to somebody in their 70s or 80s, they always look at me and say, but what's that going to do to my credit? You're
in your 70s.
What are you buying on a 20-year credit plan?
Exactly.
I hope if you're in your 70s or 80s
and you're going to
and you buy something with 20 years of repayment terms, I sincerely hope you live to see the end of your final payment to that creditor.
Yeah.
Is that realistic? Probably not.
Maybe not.
So what do you're not buying a new house. You're probably not buying a new car.
Interesting. No, and good advice all around. I agree. Depending on your age, those are things to kind of consider. But to be able to, I mean, you've told me in the past, right? People worry about like bankrupt. Well, how's this going to affect my credit? I'm like, dude, you just borrowed your way into this situation. We're worried about how we're going to do it again.
Yeah, what's this going to do to my credit? You've got 2 lawsuits pending. You've got 4 other credit cards that are behind. What do you think it's doing to your credit right now?
Exactly. And why are we worried about that at this point?
Right.
Maybe in a few years that's fair, but
now maybe as a new graduate, it may be important to say check your credit, once a month, or check your credit on some regular basis, because when you are a high school graduate, a college graduate, you are hopefully going to buy a new house. You're going to buy a new car. You're going to buy all the things and the furniture and all that stuff. So yeah, monitor your credit. Put the locks on your credit. Make
I would
sure
say
your
put the
credit
locks.
is good.
So my recommendation, especially kids under 18, if you want to go up to 21, freeze your kids' ability, because they're not going to borrow at that point, right? So don't have someone steal the identity of your kids to be able to open credit cards. And again, they don't want to get their kind of journey started, and all of a sudden there's like fraud that's associated. So let's be careful there. But I would agree, if you're not planning to use or borrow money or anything like that, just put your accounts on freeze until you can. Again, it's great fraud prevention type of step there.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too, I always recommend clients, once a year, look at the credit score.
Right.
Now, again, why do we do that? We want to make sure, first of all, that there's nothing on there that is causing issues, meaning like, oh, wow, where did this credit card come from? Where did these charges come from?
Right.
You want to make sure, once again, all it ties back to fraud and that kind of fraud prevention as part of your. So for me, that's one way. But again, if you want to know the credit score, because, hey, I want to buy a house in the next 2 years, there you go. There's an opportunity. Dailies. It might change, but I don't think it'll change that drastically. But yeah,
I don't check it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I check it once a year. That's what I do, just to make sure. Check on the kids once a year, just to make sure.
Yeah.
And once again, try to get it again. I would say, I know Ramsey was always like, "Oh, you have an 800, 800 score. Oh, I'm so bad for you. I feel so bad for you." And it's like, yeah, it's 700, 800, great credit scores, right? But again, all that tells you is that you have the ability to borrow. That's all it's telling you.
It actually it's a measure of what the banks think is your ability to repay the loan.
I love it.
That's what the credit score really represents, is how likely do the banks think. If you have an 800 credit score, you're highly likely. If you have a 400 credit score, you're probably not likely.
Not so likely.
Right.
Yep.
So that's really what the credit score is. The other piece of advice that I would give is sort of along the lines we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Get involved with understanding investing. Start up a savings fund.
Yeah.
Get in the habit of, again,
pay yourself first.
Right, not a secret. We've talked about it a million times before. Get in the habit of chucking $5 into a savings account, every time you get paid, or every week, or every month, or every whatever.
You don't. What was always the saying, right? You don't save your first million if you're not having the ability to save your first dollar.
Right.
So you got to. For me, again, pay yourself first. When it comes to tithing, when it comes to savings, when it comes to investing. So those are the things. But you have to be able to do it even with small amounts to be able to do it with large amounts in the future.
Just build the habit, and that's where the money will come, because you build the habit now. You increase the deposit into savings, and before you know it, you're depositing thousands of dollars a month or more into savings just because it's become a habit.
Well, here's my advice then would be dream big. I want you to dream big. It's great. Find your passion. Find it. But learn how interest works. Okay? Know where your money is going. That's, for me. And then, of course, have a budget.
Right.
Have a plan.
I would say have a budget.
But again, we don't want to take it away from you guys. Of course, we love what we do. There's a passion. There's a reason why we do what we do, to be able to give back to the community, to give back to people. And obviously being able to make money doing it is not a bad thing. But at the end of the day, we know how money works. And I think that makes us, it just gives us a peace of mind that comes with that process. So, hey, I think I'm ready to have the conversation now with my daughters. Just now, whether they listen, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But
Although I would add one thing before we wrap
up
the show.
Talk it.
One thing: get educated. There are literally a ton of books out there. Including two, one called Crushing Debt and one called Become Debt Free. But there are tons of books out there that will teach you, whether you want to learn about investing, whether you want to learn about crypto, whether you want to learn about budgeting, saving, pay yourself first, how money works. All these books out there, I would say get an education and start to learn and understand this stuff. Pick up a newspaper subscription.
I think we're both having issues today.
We both ain't got no words. Get a newspaper subscription, even if it's an online subscription.
Right.
Read Wall Street Journal.
Yep.
Read some financial newsletter. I get magazines from the Florida Bar. I get the Tampa Bay Bankruptcy Bar has a publication. The American Bankruptcy Institute has a publication. You read all this kind of stuff and get educated about what you want to do. Get educated about money. Get educated about your profession. All that kind of stuff.
I'll say the big names, right? Your Ramseys, your Tony Robbins, your Les Miles. There's so many things that I think.
Your Shawn
Yesner's excellent authors. But I think in all of these things, it just keep growing. If you're going to follow your passion, the only way you can do it is really in your growth. Yeah. You're constantly learning, constantly doing something to really put you in a position to, for that success to come. So I think I love the advice, especially for our new grads and, people, just getting ready for transition. Let's do it. Let's get growing together.
So I think on that note, we can put an end to this week's episode.
I like it.
We do have the Patreon page, patreon.com/crushingdebt, if you want to donate to us there and get some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, see our beautiful faces on video.
Stuttering and Not knowing how to say my words, suffering succotash.
The pancreatic cancer walk for 2026 is over by the time you're listening to this. You can always donate. And again, we'll start up in a few months on the 2027 walk.
Nice.
But the 2026 walk, again, we raised thousands of dollars for pancreatic cancer education, research, awareness, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I'm very, very happy and proud about that. Otherwise, I think we've come to the end.
Full circle, my friend, and it's
got a little tear in my eye.
I'll be. I know for graduations that I'll be, balling. So it's going to be definitely proud daddy moments and stuff for my kids. But
Although
very nice.
I'll leave you with this: when my sister was graduating college, we were all standing there, and she said, "Are you coming to graduation ceremony?" My dad looked at her and said, "I've already been to Shawn's. I've seen one. Why do I need to see another one?"
That must have went over well on that one.
So go ahead and try it. Tell me how it works out for you.
I love it.
So with that, I will say we hope you have more money at the end of the month rather than month at the end of the money, and we will talk to you in next week's episode.